Hello and welcome to the CELPIP workshop. If you are watching this video, then I'm sure you are aware of what is CELPIP. I just wanted to take this quick workshop to take you through my experience, my preparation for this exam and the reasons I chose this exam. So I am not an official CELPIP trainer or a CELPIP instructor. I took CELPIP based on my preference and I know many people have multiple choices between IELTS and CELPIP, but I chose CELPIP and I was glad I did that. So I just wanted to share my experience with everybody, and if I can help anybody along the way, I would be really happy. Let's dive into the CELPIP workshop. I have prepared a small module and the slides you will see along as I speak. Let's jump into the videos. Let's talk about some of the very key resources that you will need. As I told you, I'm not an official CELPIP instructor or a CELPIP trainer, but what I think, and I'm sure that each one of you will need going forward, are these three things. Number one is the CELPIP website. So this is the CELPIP website, and then I have included two quick links for registration and free resources. So if you go onto the CELPIP website, there are some few free resources and free demo available, which can help you understand how the test will be taken. Right? These tests you can take as many times as you want. You can take it at your own pace. These are very helpful in at least making you understand what the format is all about. Okay, so keep these links handy, and I am sure these will be helpful to you in your preparation. So how I have structured this particular module. So let's talk about that. I will start off with the basic of CELPIP, what is CELPIP, and something very basic. Though I know that if you guys are watching this, a lot of you already know what CELPIP is. But still, for the uninitiated, let me do that introduction. I will cover the basics. Then in the next two slides, after the basics, what I want to really concentrate on to clear some of the myths about CELPIP exam or any language test for that matter. What it is and what it is not. These two things, I think, more than anything, in all the people who are taking the exam should be aware of. What this does is, apart from giving you a lot of confidence, it also relieves a lot of anxiety, which I have heard that many people have to language tests, right? So at least I can tell you what CELPIP is and CELPIP not. I am not too sure about other language tests. So, but I'm sure other language tests follow the same guidelines. After that, I'll have a quick discussion what you need to start your CELPIP journey. And once that is done, once you are into your CELPIP journey, obviously the main thing that I thought was really helpful was getting very comfortable with the format of the test. Okay, so if you are comfortable with the format of your test, if you know what is coming next, what type of questions and what type of sections, what type of format is there, it relieves a lot of your stress. Remember how when you used to give a test, we used to know that the first question will be a 20-mark essay, next question would be multiple choice, next would be objective type. So we used to know that format, and that format helped us a lot. If the format is switched, it creates a lot of anxiety. So understand the format first. That helped me a lot. That was like 50%. What will happen if you know the format? The best thing that will happen to you is like you would be able to pace yourself. You will know like this would be like almost a 3-hour test, almost breathless. Like people will hold their breath throughout the test, but you will know, if you know the format, where you will get those sections to rest or to take it easy. There are some sections in this test which you can take really easy. So there are some sections like that. So that is very important to understand. So that is why I will have a long discussion on each of the sections of the CELPIP test. Okay, again, a long video alert. This video is going to be long, but I'm sure this would be worth it. So please listen till the end, and I'm sure you guys will derive value out of it. After I have discussed the format, which to me was 70% of the work done. If I'm comfortable with the format, I know what kind of questions, what type of questions, I was really comfortable, because I know that these things are, once I know it, I can prepare them, and then I know them that these are within my reach. So that was my 50% to 70% work done. Next two sections, what I will do is I will cover on how to prepare. I will do some tips and tricks on how to prepare, and then what to expect on the test day. These are two things that I will cover in the last 2 slides. This barcode is for one of my WhatsApp groups. So if you want to join my WhatsApp group and want to connect with me directly, you can scan the QR code and join us. It's a real good group. I'm sure you will like it. Let's go into the basics. First slide, basics. So what is CELPIP? CELPIP is Canadian English Language Proficiency Index Program. So 2 things. Number 1, you need to understand that this is only a test of your English proficiency. This is not a test of your English language. Although your English language or knowledge is also necessary, but this is not a test of that. You will not get questions like what is the noun, what is a pronoun, what is a present continuous, past continuous. You will not get things like this, right? But what this will test is how you are able to communicate in English and how proficient you are in English. So at the end of the day, once you come to Canada on a PR or on a work permit, you will be working here, living here, interacting with people here. So you should be able to communicate with them. And English is the language that everybody uses. So your communication should be proficient enough so that you can understand what the other person is saying, and you should be able to communicate your thoughts and ideas. So to understand other person's view, listening and reading is important, right? That's a way of understanding other person's communication, and the way you make other people understand is by writing and speaking. Understand this, the 4 part of this test deals with different aspects of communication, and if you're comfortable in communication, it's okay, you will do good in this test, right? Don't worry about definitions, things like that. No language test will ask you that. So if you are anxious about that you have to go back to your grade 5 and grade 6 English textbooks, no, you don't have to. But having said that, having a knowledge of English grammar is helpful, because again that kinds of improves your communication. Like for example, if you can go to a store and say I need an apple, or I need a apple, right? So a apple is a wrong grammar, an apple is a good grammar, right? I'm sure you can make people understand, but yes, your communication improves if you know these basic rules. These are such rules which we have grown up with. If you have done any kind of communication in English, it's more or less you know these kind of rules. That kind of rules is already embedded in our subconscious mind, so we don't need to worry about that. So no definitions, no hardcore English literature test. This is just a test of your English proficiency. And while you are preparing for it, understand that this test is only designed to assess your proficiency. This will just give you a score based on how proficient you are. This is not going to judge you. This is not going to pass or fail you. This test will grade you from 1 to 12, and then that's it, right? It doesn't mean that you have failed, or you can take these tests as many times. Maybe first time you were a bit anxious, you didn't do well in some of the sections. The point I'm trying to make is that anxiety is your biggest fear here. Don't get anxious at all. You will do really well in this test if you are relaxed. Let's go to the next section, but before that, let me just cover CELPIP has 2 different type of tests. When you go into your website for registration, you would see that there are 2 type of CELPIP tests. There is a CELPIP general test, and then there is a CELPIP general LS test. We are only concerned with the general test, which has 4 sections. LS is only listening and speaking. We don't want to do that test. Take CELPIP general test, which has 4 sections. As I told you, if you are watching this video, you might already know, or you already know why you are taking this test. If you are taking this test for PR applications, Canada PR applications, then you need to take the CELPIP general test. Have any kind of anxiety, let's kind of relieve that. What's in this test? For this test, you have to understand the C in CELPIP is Canadian. So the content of this test, all the scenarios, all the context that you will see in this test is all Canadian. This test is a scenario based test. You will not get a direct question that you have to answer, that nobody will ask you what is a noun, or you will not get a common enough question, right? You will be given different kind of scenarios in different formats, either through reading or through listening. You will be presented with multiple scenarios, and then those scenarios would be Canadian would have a Canadian context, means the person speaking on the, if say you are listening, the accent that you hear is more Canadian. The things that you are listening will be more Canadian. That is another advantage of this for those people who have already spent some time in Canada. If you are already in Canada, I find this is not a generalized test. This is so Canadian that you can really identify with all the scenarios and all the context that is presented to you. And that is one thing also that made this test comfortable for me, because I had spent almost couple of years in Canada, interacted with so many people, talking to so many people, so I understood all the context. So whenever anything was presented, it was very comfortable for me. Say for example, you are given a scenario where you are discussing between a detached home and a town home versus an apartment. So some of the context is very Canadian or North American. Another thing that you need to understand, this test will happen in one sitting. No need to take two different appointments, once for the written component, another for the speaking component. No, this will happen in one straight sittings of 3 hours. So you will, whenever you plan for it, you have to plan for those 3 hours and fully computerized. What does that mean? That means that your entire test is computerized. Even the speaking section, you have nobody sitting in front of you who is listening to you and who is kind of giving looks or kind of listening and kind of reacting to your. I'm not sure how other test happens. Does the person who is listening to you sit with a poker face, not kind of giving any kind of reaction? Because that is what make many people conscious. That I thought that would make me conscious, that if I am speaking and if I'm seeing some kind of reaction from the other person, or if I think that person is kind of judging me, I might not do well in a test. To relieve that anxiety, I think a computer based test was the best thing. And now in last couple of years, we all have done so many video calls and conference calls. This will feel second nature to us. Speaking is still considered one of the toughest sections of the test, but I think given the last 2 years of pandemic and the kind of experience we all got talking to a computer, this section is very slowly become very easy. I would say we all have now a great experience on how to talk on a mic, how to talk on a headset, how to talk slowly without able to see anybody. So we know how to talk slowly, how to talk, how to take pauses and then talk. So this will help us a lot. So this is what I think is in the test, which we all need to be aware of. Then more than that, what we need to be aware of is what it is not. So what we need to understand, as I told in the earlier thing, this is a test of your English proficiency. Please write it on a paper and put it on your wall. This is not a test of your knowledge. The only knowledge you will need is very basic grammar, so that you can make some person understand, like where to put a full stop, where to put a comma. I know these are grammars, right? But if we are aware of these basic grammar steps, we just don't need to go into elaborate grammars or deep grammars. So it is not a test of grammar. You will not be given a phrase and say, now convert it to past perfect or convert it to present continuous. Things like that will not happen in this test. This is a total scenario based test. You will be given a scenario and you will be asked to react to it, either through answering a question, reading a question, writing an answer, or speaking. Very simple. And this is not a gotcha test. What's a gotcha test? Gotcha test is basically, many of us will understand it in a way that in some of the tests that we take in school and somewhere in our colleges, at times we kind of feel that this test is where examiner is trying to show off his knowledge rather than test my knowledge. This test is not like that. This test is just checking your proficiency. Their aim is not to catch you in an odd place or in an uncomfortable place, not to show you what you don't know. It's just kind of testing what you know. So that is also very, very important. So these guys, the test is designed in a way that it kind of eases you into it. It gives you an honest chance to respond and then test your proficiency. So this will in no way be a test where you can complain, oh, this paper was set very difficult for me this time, or nobody will pass this. This will not happen. So be very relaxed. So now that we know what is the test all about, what's in it, what's not in it, I think at this stage of the video, you guys are convinced that whether you want a CELPIP test or not. I'm sure if you are still watching, many of you are convinced that you need to take this test. So what do you need to get started. First is complete your registration. You just need to go to the CELPIP website that I showed in the first slide and register for your test. When you're registering for your test, you need to select the CELPIP general as your test version. You need to choose the test center and a test date. That seems so logical. Get acquainted with the test format. Look at this video if you want again and again. Get very comfortable with the test format and be very sure that that is the format that will be followed in the test. Okay, it will not kind of switch around or give you a surprise. As I told you, this is not a gotcha test. You have to be very comfortable, and once you are comfortable, I felt that was 70% of my work done. To be very honest, 70%. Yeah, it might sound like exaggeration, but for me it was 70% of the work done. And then start your preparation. I will surely include some tips and tricks on how to prepare, but yeah, you just start your preparation with that. Let's go into the format of this test. The format of this test is basically, it's a computerized test. Once you go into the center, you will be given a headset, a pen and paper. Why do you need pen and paper? I will let you know. This test will have 4 sections. And as I told in the beginning of the video, always keep in mind, this is a test of your communication skills, of your communication proficiency. So any questions, anything that you see in this test or you do on this test should be towards effective communication. Communication has 4 parts to it: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And that is what is the content of this test. So that is the format of this test. This test is divided in 4 sections: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. The first section is listening, where you will listen to some audio pieces and then respond to your answer on the screen, right? It will be multiple choice questions, and you will just pick the correct answer or correct response. So that is listening. Listening is the first section of the test, right? And I told you, when you go into the test center, you will be given a headset and a pen and paper. This section will use both of them. Through the headset, you will listen to the audio pieces. Remember, these audio pieces will be played only once. That is where your paper and pen comes into play. You need to start learning how to take notes of those pieces. Those pieces can be 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds pieces. There will be pieces of different lengths. There will be many pieces. So you have to listen to those pieces, take your note, and then respond to the answer. So you have to listen to a piece. Whenever you are listening to a piece, you just have to kind of understand what are the key aspects of this, what could be the key aspects of this conversation. Write it down, important parts of the conversation, and use the pen and paper that you are given and take precise notes. So that is what the listening is. I will have more tips and tricks on how to prepare for each section. Next section comes reading. Here is where your pen and paper or your headset doesn't come into the play. This is just reading. This test will test your ability, how well you are able to read and understand. So you will be presented with a passage that you have to read, and then you will have to answer that. Again, these answers would be multiple choice questions. So you would be presented with 3 or 4 options. You have to select the correct option. The advantage of reading, and you can go back and forth, like the passage and your questions will be presented to you together. So you just read the passage and find the answers and then respond to that answers. So if this sounds like very much like English comprehension we did in our school, it is like that. You just need to read a passage and provide answers to that. So that is the second section. The next section, in my opinion, the easiest section is the writing section. You would be asked to write 2 passages, and these 2 passages would be based on some scenarios that you would be presented. You would be asked to say write an email, write a letter, essay, short essay, something like that. So this is a very easy section. You just have to prepare 2 sections, 2 essays for this. So this is a rather easy section. So here is where your grammar and vocabulary knowledge will come into play. So you don't need to use hi-fi vocabulary or complex grammar, but make sure you are using good vocabulary, good grammar. So this is where your knowledge of grammar comes into play for the first time. Writing is that section. Speaking, this is the last section of the test. This is the section where your ability to communicate effectively in spoken English is assessed. Again, this is where your knowledge of grammar will come into the play, plus how naturally can you speak and how effectively can you communicate the thoughts or the things that you are presented with. So you would be presented with a scenario here, and then you will have to communicate what is being asked through spoken English. This is where your headset will come into the play. It will have a mic. You will have to speak into the mic and it will record your, and then somebody later on will listen to it and provide an assessment. So no need to worry, there is no live person to see, to look at. You will just look at a screen and talk. And as I was saying, in this in this last couple of years, we all have grown comfortable talking into a mic and talking to a screen. So I think this section is easier than people are making it out to be. Let's start with some of the details. So listening test is, again, as I told you, this is a very important aspect of communication, that you have to listen to different type of conversations, different type of pieces, and then extract information out of it, make your decisions. This section is almost 47 to 55 minutes long, and it has 6 parts. In the next slide, you will see each part relates to a particular type of scenario, and then you will listen to each scenario and then respond to it. Make sure you are taking good notes to it. Practice taking notes. One tip that I can give you for practice taking notes is go through the Canadian news channels. They have short clips, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes of thing. Listen to it multiple times. What it does is it will, number one, give you an idea about the Canadian accent, and then what it will help you is it will give you some idea about some of the Canadian concepts and Canadian terms and the way they speak. So listen to that. That helped me a lot because I was already in Canada working here. I was listening to news almost every day here. So that was kind of, that I think helped me a lot. You will see in this slide is the breakup of this particular listening section. You have 6 parts to this test, and each part has some number of questions. So for example, part 1 will have 8 questions, and where you are listening to problem solving. So you will be given a scenario, you will be listening to it, and then it would be some kind of a problem that the speakers are discussing. You will take notes, and then you will respond to the questions that are asked. Some of these sections might be linked. So part 1, part 2, part 3 might be part of the same conversation. So for example, you can be given a scenario that particular municipality is kind of discussing on passing some budget, and then they are kind of discussing this in the audio. So that's the context that will remain constant throughout some of the sections. So that is what you need to understand. So part 1, part 2, part 3 could be linked in a context wise. So keep your notes in continuation. So similarly, you will see here each part has these many questions. So that's the basic format, 47 to 55 minutes of time. Understand this, each questions will have a particular time limit to it. You will have to answer it within that time limit. If you don't answer, obviously you will go to the next question and you lose that particular chance to score. But if you say, if you did respond early, and you can always skip to the next section. You can just click next. But understand, if you are saving say 5 seconds, 10 seconds on any of the questions, that will not be added to the next section. Okay, so there is no point of skipping. I never skipped anything. The only thing is your test will get over earlier, 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes earlier, but that's okay. You are not there to save your time. There's no score for solving it quickly. So take your time, relax and answer, and I would say utilize the full time. That will make you more relaxed. And you have to take good notes in the listening sections. Then you will have a headset, listen very carefully, and you will have a pen and paper. You should practice taking good notes. Reading section is the next section, where again you will be presented with a scenario. This is almost a 55 to 60 minutes test. This has only 4 parts to it. This you will be presented with 4 scenarios in this particular section. You will read the sections and answer the multiple choice questions. Whatever you read, the answers would be in the passages that you would read. So read carefully. Again, a good thing is start reading some websites or Canadian websites or Canadian news channel websites. Start reading small passages and start understanding what they are trying to communicate. This will help you a lot in this particular section. Not just acquainting yourself with the Canadian context, but also your reading speed and reading comprehension will improve. This is very similar to our reading comprehension we did back in school. And if you ask me, this is the easiest section of the test. After this, I think only the writing is the easiest one. Okay, this is the easier. You will have enough time, 55 to 60 minutes, almost an hour, just 4 parts. And then how many questions we have here? We're talking here 28 questions. So you have enough time to answer these questions. So again, look at this slide. You will see there are 4 parts to this particular test: reading correspondence, reading any kind of a letter, reading to apply a diagram. You will see some kind of a diagram, and then you will have to understand that diagram. Reading for information, you will read a piece and you will try to extract what kind of information is coming out of that piece. It could be a news piece or a article. And reading for viewpoints, maybe you are reading a conversation or something, you're trying to understand what is their viewpoint, what they are trying to say. This is how the reading section is. I would say, again, my experience, easiest section. But unfortunate part is we cannot choose that we have to answer this section first. The format is that listening, reading, writing, and speaking, they will come in that order. Be relaxed. If you are really anxious about listening, know that once you are done with listening test, you will have it easy in your reading test. Reading test will be easier, so you take it easy, right? So you it's not that if you are anxious about a particular about the listening section, don't think that this will keep on rising. This anxiety will keep on rising. No, the level will drop in reading and then in writing, right? And then it will again pick up in speaking, but that is what we will discuss when we come there. The next third section is the writing section. This is, you are just writing 2 pieces in 1 hour. Okay, so this is very easy. I would say this is the easiest in the test. The only thing is that you will have, your typing speed is the only limitation. That is why I don't say it to be very easy. But if you have, if any one of us, most of us have been writing emails, now everybody is writing emails, right? If we have written multiple emails during work, for our private work and everything, this comes so easy. So don't worry about this section also. This will be a easier section too. So reading and writing, you can pick and choose which one is easier for you. Reading, for me, reading was easier because it's comprehension. I know I have a passage to read and I just have to find the answers, right? There is no complexity there. Writing, there is still some complexity. You will have to show your knowledge of correct grammar. You will have to show your knowledge of vocabulary, things like that. But this is still easy. So writing section, believe me, I'm not kind of saying that. Anybody who has written emails for his work will just breeze through this section. And this is a 1 hour section. 1 hour section for 2. You will have time to write, rewrite, and everything. Just make sure that you stick to the word limit, and you always write a conclusion, right? Just don't keep on writing and then just don't keep a conclusion. Whatever is there, always conclude your point of view or your thing. See, writing an email and writing and responding to survey questions, these are 2 so easy sections. You will be asked, you will be given a scenario and you will be asked to write an email in 200 words. What is in 200 words of 30 minutes for that, right? It will be very easy for you. So don't worry about the writing section. Take your time in the writing section if you want to. By this time, you would already have spent almost 2 hours, 2.5 hours in the examination room. If you want to stretch your hands, your neck, do that in this section. Have a sip of water, because speaking is the next section, and there you will not get any time to rest. And that is what makes speaking the tough section. So I'll come to that speaking section. This is considered by some people the toughest section of the language test, the speaking part. It is tough. Speaking is tough, but the good part is this is only a 15 to 20 minute test. You don't have to speak for 1 hour. Okay. Then you have 8 tasks to complete, or 8 times you will have to speak, and 15 to 20 minutes is the whole test, including your preparation time. So you would hardly speak for 1.5 minutes, max 2 minutes in a piece. So just relax, take a deep breath, use your writing section to relax as much as possible. Drink, make sure your throat is clear, everything in your writing section, whatever you want to do, and be very relaxed in the speaking section. For some people, this can be tough. I know, but I would not say this is the easiest section in any way. But the good part is this is the shortest section. This is only 15 to 20 minutes. You can easily get through it. If you can speak for 20 minutes, I've been speaking on this video for last 40 minutes. So if you can speak on any of these topics, but it's not a random topic. You will be given a particular scenario to speak. So that is the speaking section for you. You will see here what are the components of test: giving advice, talking about a personal experience, describing a scene. So some of these could be in terms of text. You will be given a text. You read that text and kind of speak to it. Or about you might be given a picture and then you have to describe the scene, things like that. So if you look here, these are different aspects, these are different type of speaking you might be doing on a day-to-day basis. Here also your vocabulary, your knowledge of basic grammar comes into play, just the way it comes in the writing. So writing and speaking is where your knowledge of grammar, whatever small, again, not a very bookish kind of knowledge, but a kind of a practical kind of knowledge comes into play. Next is how to prepare for this test. We will discuss on how to prepare for each of these sections of the CELPIP test. Let's go in the order of the test. So first section is listening. So whatever I will explain now is totally based on my experience and what helped me. If you guys have any ideas, any questions, post it in the comments. I'll be more than happy to help. But these are my tips and tricks that I used. So listening is the first section. As soon as you go, as I told in the earlier, you would be given a headset and a pen and paper, and both of them would be used in this test. To me, if I want to summarize in one line, the toughest part of listening is concentration. You are listening to a passage which is a minute, 2 minutes long, and you are taking notes. Okay, you are writing and taking notes. Obviously, at some point of time, by your action of taking notes, you might miss out something, some information that you are listening. So you need a lot of concentration during listening. The good part is when you are doing the listening test, if in the room there are 8 or 9 people, they are also taking a listening test. So in general, this section is very quiet section, right? You will not have disturbances like somebody is on his speaking test and you are doing a listening test. No, it will not happen like that. So don't get anxious. You will have a quiet environment. You will have a small booth where you will be sitting with a headset, a pen and paper that is working. So the toughest part is concentration. Start listening to news pieces from I can suggest like CBS National or City News Canada. These are few channels which you can listen. There is a channel called CBS Marketplace. Okay, it has a lot of documentaries, 45 minutes documentaries. Listen to those documentaries. Obviously, if you are in India, some of the content might not make sense to you or might not be very relevant, but be aware that what it will give you is the overall idea of a Canadian context, how they speak, what they speak about, what is their daily life about. So those documentaries are very good. I still, like, even though if I'm not taking test, I still listen to those documentaries. It just gives me an idea about the Canadian way of life. So that's a good piece to start. Those are long pieces, 40, 45, 50 minutes of people talking, showing you documents, showing you pictures, showing you video. So you are doing a very good communication with them. The first tip is concentrate. Don't get distracted by anything. This is the first section of your test. You have just arrived fresh. Your mind should be really fresh at this point of time. Again, see, that's the way, right? You need a lot of concentration here, and that is the reason they have given it as a first section, not rather than as the last section where you might be tired. So this is what I was telling in the earlier section. This is not a gotcha test. This is not to test your stamina or anything. This is only to test your English language proficiency. So this would be a 47 to 55 minutes of test. Start practicing not getting distracted, and then start practice notes taking. You should start listening to small passages and then practice taking notes. Listen to passage once, and while the passage is going on, you have to take notes during that time. You have to listen and start taking notes. take it as the way we used to take notes in our school lectures of the colleges. Like I remember when history was a subject for me in grade 9 and 10, where I used to take extensive notes for some reason. If you have that kind of memory in your subconscious mind, bring that to front, practice notes taking. Breathe. People don't breathe. They hold their breath for some reason. I don't know why, but that is again something. If you hold your breath for too long, you might feel fatigue. You might just get a hiccup, and then you cannot hear it properly, hear the passages properly. So please breathe. Okay, keep breathing, don't hold your breath. This is the first section. So if you want to drink any water, just drink before this. Okay, before this section. Obviously during the section you cannot drink water while the passage is going on. You will not get a chance to drink water for next 55 minutes, almost an hour. Okay, so just drink some water, just drink some water before this. Don't drink too much. You cannot take a bathroom break. It will happen eventually that while you are taking notes, while you are trying to listen, you will miss some information that you will miss taking notes on. Okay, just don't try to chase that what you missed, because what will happen is if you chase what you missed, and if you try to hold on to that, try to remember that and take it down, what will happen, you will miss more sections of the conversation. So if you miss it, just move ahead. Just make sure you keep taking notes of the other sections. If you miss one section, don't miss it. Don't miss the other sections for this. Remember, some parts of the audios are linked. So audio 1, audio 2, audio 3 can be linked. So don't just, after a section is finished, don't just remove the conversation out of your mind. There would be some parts of the conversation which will be in your mind, in your RAM, I would say. It will be in your RAM even if it's not on your note. You might miss taking note on a particular section, but when you read the question, you will remember from a memory that yeah, this was discussed in the conversation. I didn't take a note, but I can still answer that. Or be conscious that your RAM needs to be there for 55 minutes. Don't just keep on clearing it. So that's the trip on the first section, on the listening section. It's a multiple choice section. First section, again, you cannot decide the flow of the sections. It's there, and these are my tips on listening. This helped me a lot. The reading section, it is the second section of the test, and this is the easiest of this test. Believe me, I would say 95% of people who have taken the test will agree reading is the easiest section. Again, this is a 1 hour test, so you will have enough time to relax, to breathe. Occasionally you can take a sip of water also here in this section. This is just like your reading comprehension in your grade. I think I've already stated that in the video earlier. We have all taken reading comprehension right from grade 4 to grade 8, 9, I think. This is just like that. You'll be given a passage and you'll be asked to respond through multiple choice questions. One tips and tricks that I used in this particular reading section is the same that teachers told us during our reading comprehension. You are not reading it to mug it up or to memorize. You're just reading it to answer questions. So first, very quickly go through the passage. So for example, if you are reading the email, just very quickly notice who is the sender, recipient, if they have some kind of designations on their names, company name. Just very quickly read the passage. You will get an overall idea what the passage is talking about, right? Very quickly read the passage and then go to the questions. You will have questions and passage side by side. You can refer back and forth multiple times during the section. It has only 4 parts, 4 passages. Read and write. It's very easy. Okay, just read through passage, then read the questions. If you have already seen that in your so once you read the question, you will understand where in the passage you will find that information, because you have already just scanned it once. Do a quick scan, then find that question. Once you read a question, go and find the relevant section in the passage and then extract the answer. It's that easy. It's like open book exam. You are given a passage and then you are being asked a question. I don't think it gets easier than this. Will be a very easy section for you. This is the second section. I cannot give more tips on easier section. It's already very easy. Next comes writing. This again has a competition with reading on being the easiest. This is the third section of the test. For me, it was even easier than reading because it had only 2 passages. I have to write only 2 passages of 200 words, and that's it. I had 1 hour to write 2 passages. It gets easier than this. The only suggestion I can give in writing is that if you're writing an email, follow a proper structure of email and always have a conclusion. Some of us might have a habit of writing open-ended emails for work, but don't do it here. Okay, in CELPIP, don't do that thing. Even if you're writing an email to somebody, always conclude that passage. That's the only tip I can give. Check your grammar, check your vocabulary. Don't repeat words often. Properly use pronouns. Like for example, if you're referring to person, then don't always keep referring to his name. Use pronouns like he, him, they, things like that. So these are again the basic English. Even in school, if you are writing a passage, if you just use the name of the person multiple times, teachers would tell us why you are not using pronouns in place of proper nouns. Again, no need to know the definitions of those terms. It's just that I'm just telling you for a discussion point of view. But the only tips on writing is that check your vocabulary, check your grammar. You will have enough time for this. Check your commas, punctuations, things like that. And write naturally, right? The way that you would write an email or write a passage, right? Write it very naturally. Don't be very verbose on it. Like, you don't use very tough words. This is not a test of your vocabulary. Okay, this is only a test of your proficiency, whether you are able to put your point across. So that is what would be tested here. So this is the writing section. Next, and honestly, out of these 4 sections, the toughest part of the test is speaking. But as I told earlier in the video, the glimmer is that this is the shortest section. So one part, if this is tough, on the other part, this is really short. This is only a 20-minute section. Each section before this could take up to 55 to 60 minutes, right? Could take. It doesn't take that long. Overall test is around 3 hours. If overall test is 3 hours, this speaking is within 15 to 20 minutes. You might be on the least side 15 minutes, on the max side 20 minutes, right? Including rest. You're not speaking for 20 minutes, right? You will be reading or listening or viewing something. You will be given time to prepare and then speak. Maybe for 60 seconds, maybe for 30 seconds, right? It has 8 questions and you will be speaking for 15 to 20 minutes. Now imagine, you're not speaking 15-20 minutes, right? You would be speaking only for like 8 or 10 minutes out of this. You can very easily do it if you know like what you are getting into. So the only thing is this, it might have felt unnatural a couple of years back, but now I think everybody is doing that, right? Every one of us is speaking into a mic. Everybody is speaking to a screen. When we are into Zoom calls and WebEx meetings, we don't even turn our camera on. So we don't even see the other people on the other side. Still we are speaking. Use the knowledge that you have learned in these 2 years to crack this section. Speak slowly. Don't speak very fast. Speak naturally. You're not writing an email. You not start speaking like, hello, Mr. John, I am writing this letter. You will not speak like that, right? You will speak, hey John, how are you doing? This is what I want to say to you, right? So things like that. Speak naturally as you would speak to a person. So any situation that you are given, speak naturally. The only thing unnatural here is, my opinion is unnatural is conclude. Like you have to conclude your speaking section also. So if you are given say 60 seconds to speak, reserve last 5 to 10 seconds for concluding. Don't run out of the time totally. You would see the clock running when you are speaking also, right? So when you see the clock is like 10 seconds there, start concluding. Whatever you wanted to tell that person, whatever you want to communicate, tell that person that, and always try to conclude. Try practicing at home. Just stand in front of a mirror and speak. Just take any topic for that matter. For example, your friend lost a key. Now you are kind of explaining him what to do, what not to do for the future, right? Take that example and start talking. Talk for 1 minute on that. You are as if you are trying to explain to your friend. Talk as naturally as possible and talk as you would actually do to your friend. That will help you, right? You're not writing an essay on how to not lose the keys. Try to bring as neutral accent as possible in your talking. If you don't have an accent, it's good. If you have an accent, it's okay. But just don't try to mimic or kind of caricature a Canadian accent or an American accent. Okay, that is what I will tell you. I've been speaking for almost an hour in this section, and I'm not making up any accent. Speak slowly, pronounce all the words very clearly. But when I say slowly and clearly, don't speak too slowly, right? You should not speak like this. The way that you can run out of your time and be not able to make your point. And don't speak very fast. Somewhere in between. Speak slow, not very slow. Don't speak fast for sure. Don't speak in a way that can be considered fast in any way. Because the person who is listening to you, right, he will probably listen to you only once. He will not go back to your audio for understanding. He's obviously trained, like he's an examiner, so he's always obviously trained. So, but still, don't speak too fast. Speak slow, not very slow. Speak naturally. Naturally means always, as I told, you are not writing an essay. You're not writing an email. You are speaking, right? So don't speak as you would write. Another thing, you must have seen me also doing this in this video. I do a lot of things like that. This is okay for when we are not doing a test. The only issue with doing that in a test is that more than distracting, it wastes your time. These are called filler words. The examiner gets a sense that you don't have much vocabulary and you're trying to do a filler, or things like when you're speaking, don't say things like, you know what I mean. No, you don't know what I mean. You need to use the words to make him understand. Like in our general conversation, we use that phrase a lot. You know what I mean. You are getting me, right? Don't do these kind of things in this conversation, in the speaking test. Okay, so these would be my tips and tricks. You will be given time to practice this each response, so relax. If this is the hardest, this is the shortest. Okay, this pain will not last longer for you. So this is my tips and tricks on each of the sections. To the last section of the video, it's almost a podcast like now. Last section is on the test day. As I told you, once you register for the test, you will be sent an email with what you need to bring, what you don't need to bring on the test day. Follow that email. First that. On that day, relax. If you follow all the preparation tips and tricks, if you have prepared properly, you would know the format of the test and everything. So you have nothing to worry about. You will do good in the test. So relax. Take a good night's sleep. Come to the test relaxed. Follow the instructions of the person in the test venue. And enjoy. Yeah, this is not end of the world. If you don't do well, maybe you can take it another time. So it's okay, and you will do well. I'm very sure this test happens. Anything that happens in one sitting and one day is good for me. Right? I don't need to worry about going out of my home 2 times for one test. No, I don't want that. These are the basic things that you need to be aware of during the test day. And that's it. So I wish everyone of you all the best. If you have stuck on to this video till now, I really appreciate that. Really appreciate your time, and I hope this video will help you in your preparation. And if you have any questions, reach out to me in the comments. You have my WhatsApp group that you can use to reach out to us. We are a community of almost 700 now, 700 people now from across the world. We have people from India, Sri Lanka, Canada, Lebanon, Saudi, like Middle East. We have a lot of people coming from a lot of places over there. So yeah, it feels like mini Canada there in the WhatsApp group. So yeah, we will be able to help you out and kind of answer any of your questions. And that's it. And thank you once again.